Ladies and gentlemen, you're welcome to Prime News on my Major Prime live from Douala. My name is Blanche Peldrine Blanche Keng. The Public Independent Conciliator for the Southwest Region has been commissioned into office. She has been called to discharge her duties with diplomacy, fairness, and the truth. The oath-taking ceremony took place at the Court of Appeal in Buea, Southwest Region of the country. Clarissa Kowe tells us more in the following report.
Presented reveals her competence.
The Pioneer Public Independent Conciliator for the Southwest Region of Cameroon have been commissioned into office. This was during this oath-taking ceremony that took place at the Southwest Court of Appeal, attended by the Southwest Governor Bernard Okara-Belai among other top officials. Madame Teleleng Dorothy Atambong, a post-Wotaze, took an oath of service.
Do solemnly swear that I will loyally and faithfully execute with probity, impartiality, and independence the duties of Public Independence Conciliator entrusted to me.
Being the first to occupy this office that was created after the major national dialogue, the function of the Pioneer Public Independent Conciliator for the Southwest Region, as elaborated by the First Deputy President, Justice Helen, will be to promote the content of the special status given to the Southwest and Northwest Region. Hence, this Pioneer Public Independent Conciliator is expected to amicably settle disputes between abuse service users and decentralized public bodies in the Southwest Region, such as councils, while ensuring the reduction in the complaint against corruption, favoritism, and discrimination, a call to which this 61-year-old educationist say she comes well prepared.
It's true that the times are really not the best, but I know I'm going to bring in that touch which a mother usually brings into the whole situation, because we know how to pamper and we know how to bring our children, our brothers, our husbands to reason. So the region should expect an open door policy.
It is expected that through the office of the Public Independent Conciliator for the Southwest Region, calm, serenity, and social justice will be attained within the Southwest Region and the content of the special status enhanced.
Head of Communications at the Ministry of Defense, Serge Atonfak, says the victim of last Sunday's attack in the Northwest Region, Jibril Dubila, has been wanted for crimes against the state. According to a document released recently, he had been issued a warrant in 2020 and was involved in a brutal escape maneuver with the forces of law and order before his untimely demise on Sunday or in Bamenda. Details with Fonquinta in the following report.
Cameroon's Ministry of Defense, through the head of Communication Division, Colonel Atonfa Gemosi Research, has reacted to the recent killing of Jibril Dubila last Sunday, July 4th, by soldiers at a checkpoint in Below Foncha, Bamenda 3 Subdivision, Northwest Region of Cameroon. In a statement issued Tuesday, July 6th, Colonel Cyril Atonfak says a suspicious driver, identified as Ngorang, attempted to run away from security forces at the control post in Below Foncha, and veteran gunshots hit him. Colonel Atonfak further says after identification, findings revealed that the victim had been served an arrest warrant on November 24, 2020 for inciting secession and issuing conditional arrest. The release reads, Jibril had been involved in several kidnappings with ransom demand, numerous cases of conditional threats, and the main local relay of certain secessionist terrorist leaders of the diaspora in the Nkwen sector. Government's view, however, contradicts that of the population of Below Foncha, who hold Jibril was a businessman who never wronged anybody. It should be recalled that after he was shot by soldiers on Sunday, July 4th, the angry population paraded the streets with his body, protesting against what they termed police brutality. The protest on Sunday led to the destruction of the checkpoint in front of which Jibril was shot dead. The circular indicates investigations is on the course to establish responsibilities of those linked to the unfortunate incident.
Dr. John Richard Kunju, identified as a lecturer from the University of Chang, has been confirmed dead following a fatal road accident around Chang. According to sources, the accident was as a result of a head-on collision with an incoming vehicle from the opposite direction. He was reportedly driving to Chang when he met his death. Cameroonians have continued to express concerns over the numerous accidents recorded only within a short period of time. They say looking into the state of our roads and road safety measures will be a good start. Away from that, family members of deceased persons who died as debtors have always suffered the pain of meeting up with the debts. Most often, family members shoulder this responsibility and pay the debts of the dead or the deceased. Let's now find out what the law says about the debts of the dead with Eileen Summer.
Paying the debts of a deceased person from time immemorial has always been a very controversial issue. As to the question, who is responsible for the debts of a dead person, a domain not mastered by many Cameroonians and other Africans, as the question rocks the minds of many people when their loved one dies. However, in criminal and civil law, a deceased person is solely responsible for his or her criminal debts, as Barrister Shom Kaimbi of Ashu Law Chambers explains.
The issue here is who pays the debts of a deceased person. When analyzing such point of view, we look at points in criminal law and civil law. Criminal liability is personal. If a deceased person committed an offense, we consider it to be at his sole responsibility. He is responsible for whatever debt he incurred. So because criminal liability is personal, if he dies over the debt and no one is responsible for it.
Nonetheless, common law as well as civil law says in a case where a deceased person left no will, his successors follows the procedure to manage his or her property, including their debts.
When it has to do with a civil matter, this deceased person died intestate. Intestate meaning he left no will. What is the positional law? His successors or his family members need to take some procedures in order for them to manage his property. When you manage his property, you're managing his property, including his debt. If he owes anywhere, you deduct from his estate and you pay to his creditors. So that is the position. The civil law is, however, similar with common law. With civil law, the family goes to an extent of making a family meeting and appointing an administrator, what is commonly called a yandrua, for them to be able to manage the deceased person's property. But if in case he made a will, in his will he has nominated everything that has to be done, and in that his property, they will deduct from his property to pay his debt. So basically that's the issue.
However, note should be taken here that it is not right according to the law to pay a deceased person's debt from one's pocket unless the person in question was a surety to a loan taken by the dead person.
People should not pay debts of deceased person from their personal pocket. It's not allowed. It's not proper. That is not the law. It's not done that way. But however, there are exceptions to that where you can pay the debt of a deceased person. Where you were aware that that deceased person took a loan in a bank and you signed that loan along as a surety, there you can go ahead and pay, knowing very well that you know of this debt and you are aware of this debt.
The barrister at law also highlighted that in the absence of any property or estate, the concerned may willingly pay their deceased loved one's debts, but it is not an obligation as stated clearly by the law in Cameroon, calling on all to take judicial notice on such situations.
The National Agency for Information and Technology has drilled stakeholders on the protection of data in the country. The 3-day seminar comes after statistics from findings carried out by this agency revealed the vulnerability of those using cyberspace in the country. Details in the following report compiled by Kumon Norembum.
Statistics carried out by the National Agency for Information and Technologies, with the acronym ANTIC, shows that the increasing use of information and communication platforms such as Facebook, WhatsApp, Twitter, telephones, emails, among other internet communication outlets, increases the vulnerability of both companies and personal data to cyber criminals. Studies carried out by ANTIC in 2019 indicates a total of 68,000 vulnerabilities in some companies' cyber system and personal data. ANTIC also discovered that over 4,242 fake Facebook accounts exist, which scammers and other cyber criminals use to dupe people who fall prey to their gimmicks. It is against this setback that the National Agency for Information and Communication Technologies organized a 3-day workshop to strengthen the capacities of stakeholders in the effective use of information communication technology, with emphasis in data security for the emergence of Cameroon. The workshop, which took place on the theme Privacy and Data, Privacy in the Digital Era, Challenges, Opportunities, and Trend in Cameroon, saw the participation of stakeholders from all the telecommunication companies, public and private companies, councils, startup initiative groups, just to mention but these few. Addressing participants during the launching ceremony, the Director General of ANTIC, Professor Ibot Enau, noted that if Cameroon has to effectively emerge, then much has to be done to ensure the protection of personal data and company data from the reach of cyber criminals such as hackers and scammers. He added that the more personal information is processed and stored in cyberspaces, the more organizations are expected to ensure effective implementation of cybersecurity measures that guarantee private protection.
Some of the best practices is, first of all, you have to locate where your data is. You need to carry out the risk assessment on that data. That risk assessment, you identify all the risks that are associated to the data, means identify the threats, identify the vulnerabilities. Once you've done that, you carry out the risk assessment. Once the risk assessment has been done, you do what you call risk mitigation. That means that you prioritize the risks and try to treat the risk.
The platform brought together a number of resource persons who drilled participants on how best they could ensure the security of the cyberspace, as well as ensuring that the privacy protection is a guiding principle in cybersecurity. Justice Theophilus Tatsi of the Southwest Appeal Court Boya presented on law and policies affecting privacy and personal protection, while Mr. Nje Chek of ANTIC drilled participants on data protection and auditing.
So far this week, lawmakers at the ongoing June 2021 plenary session have focused on the need for the country's land legislators to take consideration on customary rights of the people. Same time, some government ministers have made assuring declarations over the right of the people and the incorporation of infrastructural projects into the 2021 state budget. Details with Nolinga.
As Cameroon's lawmakers continue to sit during this June 2021 plenary session, so much deliberations are predominantly a representation of the people's voices. It may be shocking to know that over 80% of cases filed in Cameroon's courts are land-related and are largely blamed on absolute land reforms that date as far back as 1974. Honorable Edward Adamu now comments.
We've been living with cattle railers, and we are farmers, and the land issue has come up time and again. And of late, people have adopted funny strategies to create conflict between the farmers and the grazers.
But how much is the state innocent of these incoherent legal instruments and the lapses that often abound?
We are working to assure equitable access to land to all categories, to assure this acceleration of the the establishment of land certificates for all categories.
And as proposed solutions, Honorable Faustine Vela Lukong speaks forth.
Ensure full participation of communities in the management of lands as concerns projects to transfer rights, enact a provision relating to the exoneration of compensation mechanism concerning the payment of transfer costs.
Away from that, the abounding human rights violations in Cameroon, especially in the crisis-stricken regions, have also been on the spotlight as the June 2021 plenary hearings continue to roll. And Minister Jean de Dieu Momo assures Cameroonians that all is well.
I have informed them about all the legislation that the Cameroon put in place to protect and to promote the human rights.
Meanwhile, many Cameroonians are curious on the ameliorations that have actually been made so far.
When somebody is facing a law, you can just call your lawyer, and you can even say, I will speak only in front of my lawyer. So it was not like this before.
The people's representatives believe a just judicial system is a fundamental right of their representatives. In addition, cognizance to a budgetary orientation debate aimed at reflecting the expectations of the people, a series of questions by the lawmakers to the state authorities present took rounds.
How will the MINISEC's budgetary allocation make it possible for that ministry to fight effectively against the increase in violence and drug consumption in schools?
What has become of the work on the Mundembalum via Kumba Road, the Melon Bangem Tombe Road?
When exactly will the Limbe deep sea port take off?
While applauding the constructive criticism and questions raised by the lawmakers, the Minister of Finance now adheres to this.
This is why we came for, to take their contributions and to see how we can take them into consideration and to implement them in the budget when we will come here in November and December. We want to get rid of coronavirus. The economy will revamp.
However, it is hoped that the outcome of the debates will definitely reshape some state decisions challenged by the need to maintain the country's resilience. Some 380 registered members of cooperatives drawn from the 6 divisions of the Southwest region are on a mission to boost their agricultural productivity while battling with the socio-political and health crisis in the country. This was revealed during the International Day of Cooperatives celebrated in Boya, Southwest region of the country recently, as our reporter Clarice Ekowe tells us.
The International Day of Cooperatives has been celebrated at the Regional Delegation of Agriculture and Rural Development in Boya. Presiding over this ceremony was the head of Economic, Social and Cultural Affairs at the Southwest Governor's Office, Teofilo Dumbe. During this year's celebration noted, Rebuilding Better, the different cooperatives drawn from the 6th Division of the Southwest region decried the devastating effect of the COVID-19 pandemic on their agricultural productivity.
Farmers, particularly here in Southwest, have gone through crisis, COVID-19 and other social issues. It has scattered them as all like financial and all other forms of which were keeping them together.
We need a dryer that we can dry vegetables, dry so many things. Like this ginger, to dry this garlic, you can take more than 2 months, you will not get dry. So we need dryer, we need processing, we need processing machines, we need parceling machines.
Addressing the cooperatives, the Regional Delegate of Agriculture and Rural Development, Jackson Tapi, said this year's theme is rich in context.
This year the theme is Rebuild Better Together. All of us know that because of COVID-19, cooperatives, their activities went down. So this year the theme is to help these cooperatives to rebuild. Since COVID-19 is almost under control, how can we assist these cooperatives to rebuild their businesses, to rebuild their farms? We discovered that in the past, people had this individualistic tendency of working alone. So we want them to be more, united together so that they can build better.
While expressing satisfaction with the massive turnout of these cooperatives, the representative of the Southwest Governor, Matthew Teofilo, reassured the cooperatives of the commitment of government through MINADE to continue to assist them to achieve their role in economic development of the Southwest region in particular and Cameroon in general. The event also featured exhibitions and the donation of farm implements to cooperatives.
Today is International Chocolate Day. This day is celebrated amongst cocoa-producing nations and chocolate-producing nations. The essence of this celebration is to advocate for a better improvement in the quality of products amongst these nations. Details in the following report. International Chocolate Day celebrates the introduction of chocolate in the United States in 1550. Countries across the world take turns to observe this day, mindful of their calendar and date of adoption, though most countries observe the global celebration every July 7th. Cocoa-producing nations like Cameroon, Ivory Coast, Ghana, and Indonesia, recognized worldwide as top cocoa-producing countries in 2021, use days like this to improve productivity and the quality of their products. About 90% of cocoa produced in Cameroon is exported to Europe as a raw material for chocolate makers and the chocolate industry, while part of the cocoa is processed locally. With a production level between 210,000 and 270 per year over the last decade, Cameroon is currently the 5th largest cocoa producer in the world. During the 2019-2020 cocoa campaign, which ended on July 15, 2020, Cameroonian cocoa was exported to 13 countries. Celebrating the 2021 edition of World Chocolate Day, producers of cocoa and chocolate have as task to improve quality so the raw material and end product can be enjoyed in the best form. We've come to the end of today's edition of Prime News. Thanks for being with us. See you tomorrow at 6:30 for another edition. Lasha Kingsley coordinated the news, produced by Ewane Nolinga. My name is Blanche Peldrine Keng. At 7 p.m. you'd have a fresh edition of Prime Hour with Kim Leonard. Happy viewing and good night.